Through the magic of post-production, we're going to have to put like a CGI crystal ball here. So let's rub the CGI crystal ball. Yeah, now we've got a CGI crystal ball. We don't have a real crystal ball. We're going to try to predict the future in this video, and it's not necessarily going to be a bright rosy picture. We're just thinking about what the future of online video is. You know, what is YouTube going to be like? We'll include Vidme in this as well, because Vidme is a potential challenger to YouTube in the world of online video. What's it going to be like in 1 year or 2 years or 5 years? And this video is going to be a bit of a jumble. We're not really sure how everything's going to be kind of panning out, but in 1 year's time, I think in 1 year's time we're going to see not so much people leaving, but there's going to be even more policies that are going to come in, because there's been this whole slew of things that have happened in the past few years. The change in the algorithm, it rewards watch time and not clicks and likes and things. Okay, they remove video responses. Can't do video responses anymore. Demonetization of videos. So if you're producing any content that's got like swearing, bad language, hate speech, or if it's anything that's just likely to upset somebody, which is like the gay lesbian stuff, not a knock against those people. It's just that YouTube seems to have this, that's included in their list of demonetization things they don't like. Anything about guns, violence, religion, Islam, sexual orientation. There's a huge list of topics that YouTube doesn't like, and they've got this list of demonetization things. And then you've got recent advertisers leaving YouTube, and and the YouTube Heroes program. So the YouTube Heroes program, if you follow the conspiracy theories, is kind of trying to turn us into what's the word, like watchdogs against each other. Would that be an all right way to explain
Sure,
that?
sure.
So I think in 1 year's time you're going to see even more of this. There's going to be more restrictions, more things making it harder. And in that 1 year's time, I think that Vidme is going to remain largely what it is now, but it's just going to be a bit bigger. Do you have anything to add to 1 year?
Okay, 1 year from now, I think YouTube's a company. I think that they're not making huge profits right now, and to focus on those profits, they need to align themselves with corporate world. So they are going to be, they do want quality content on their platform, and they see that basically corporations produce what is quality and quantity, the two things they're actually after. We talk about that in another video, and I think that YouTube's prioritizing those corporations over individuals, like making videos on their own. So we're going to see more of that. I think more front page is going to be about corporations more than individual YouTubers. And I think that's where Vidme is quite different. And I think that Vidme also has integrated something quite clever, which is that the whole idea of Patreon and giving donations so that smaller creators can have some capital and can go and follow their dreams and their passions, basically. And so I think what happens with that is that those people are going off-site. So YouTube is losing those people as they go to another site to make their donations, and they're seeing other ads perhaps, and they're kind of losing customers in a way. So Vidme's covered that angle, because right on Vidme is that you can make the donation without leaving the platform. I think that's very clever.
The tip system, very good system.
Yes, and I don't know why YouTube hasn't done something like that. It's a very simple integration, but it's very key, I think, for keeping people on the platform and keeping ads there, which are your revenue for these kind of platforms.
Yeah, I think it's interesting how Vidme has this kind of positivity system now. What I mean by that is, I've never really used Reddit before, this forum Reddit, but they have this upvote system where you can only upvote things. And you can't downvote anybody's video, you can't downvote anybody's comments, it's only upvote. And on the one hand, this does kind of reek of political correctness, You know, it's like the whole thing that you've heard of these participation awards now, where like back in our day of the 70s and 80s when we were kids, there were no participation awards. You didn't get a gold star just for participating. You had to win, and and you know, so you take the emphasis off of winning and stuff. And but now it's, you know, if you have this kind of system where you're only allowing upvotes and positivity, it does kind of reek of political correctness. But on the other hand, you look at what has happened on YouTube over the past X number of years with all of the drama channels.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, do we have to start naming names? Probably the biggest one is Keemstar, right? What's it called? Drama Alert. Have you seen these channels?
Yes.
Leafy is Here, I think, is another one. And these people exist for the purpose of slagging each other off. And most people actually don't want to watch that shit, but they get drawn into it sometimes, and it does become quite popular. And at the end of the day, this is one of the contributing factors that has led into the whole demonetization thing, is that and not just the drama channels, but other things that advertisers are suddenly realizing that they're not happy about, which leads us into 2 years from now.
Mm-hmm.
What do we think we're going to see? Well, I think in 2 years from now we're going to see a significant number of the major advertisers. These are like your gigantic big brand names, like maybe Nike, or I'm throwing out some names here just to give you an idea of the scale, like Nike or McDonald's, KFC, or like Samsung, big brand names. Not all of them, but there's going to be a chunk of them that have left YouTube. But that leaving YouTube might not be a permanent thing, because I do believe YouTube is undergoing a long-term restructuring right now, and that was a nightmare for me in my last job. I used to work in a factory, and we had restructuring going on, and it was going to take years and years and years. And in that 2 years' time, there's going to be, as well as X number of big advertisers that have gone, but again, not necessarily permanently, there's going to be X number of YouTube people that have gone as well. And they've gone to Vidme and they've made it bigger. Again, not necessarily to say it's a permanent thing, because, I mean, we're rubbing the crystal ball here trying to figure out what's going to happen in the future. And, I mean, there's people saying that YouTube is a sinking ship and it's dying and it's going down, it's going out of business. Not necessarily the case. Not necessarily the case. It does appear that YouTube is becoming the next television, and the next television doesn't necessarily have space for us, the little guy. And, you know, so I think you're going to see an expansion of all that, and it's going to be a bit like YouTube and Vidme have become a bit more even. And that's what I think is going to happen in 2 years' time. You think you see it that way? You see it a little bit differently?
Well, it's interesting. I think that both platforms have grown in a very similar fashion, because what you saw on YouTube was that a platform that grew with the content creators who were small individuals, and has now evolved into a more corporate world where they're suggesting more corporate videos rather than small creators. And Vidme is at that beginning stage of this whole growth cycle, and there they are, suggesting small creators. And we may think, well, Vidme's always going to work with us. Let's wait and see on that one. I disagree. I think that selling out is perhaps part of corporate growth and wanting to maintain a financially viable company. The alternative, I think, is decentralized companies, which is where everyone kind of pitches in, and perhaps everyone on the network loses a small amount of money, or they might make a small amount of money. So things like Bitcoin is a decentralized network, and there's a new development which is called the R-Chain. I think in 2 years we'll see the R-Chain in a reality, and that will lead. R-Chain is a programming language that people will be able to key in, and that will use everyone's computers who are on the network to fuel a site, which will be basically almost like how you think about file sharing. These people will be sharing data and files of video, and data and files of social media content and things like that. So we'll start to see small growth from those areas, I think.
Why don't you just explain quickly what Bitcoin is and how that currency works? Because I'm sure people have heard of it, but it's not something that YouTubers normally talk about.
Okay.
How does Bitcoin work, in brief?
Okay, well, the brief on Bitcoin is there's no one at the top. So what they call that is a decentralized autonomous company, because no one's really in charge. So this does lead to a small problem of development, because no one's in charge, no one calls the shots. And one of the constraints of one of the constraints of Bitcoin is that it's not scalable. So it can't cover the entire world. And that is the difference with the new growing technology, which is the R chain, which is, it will be scalable. And that's why it will be applicable to things like video.
Yeah.
Does that cover your question?
Yeah.
Or
Right, why don't
you look confused?
Well, it's something. I mean, Bitcoin and currencies is something Hamish knows a lot more about than what I do, and probably a lot of you guys won't really know what he's talking about either. But you're talking about currency, right? You're talking about a financial system, a way people make money.
Okay guys, so I've got a bit of paper. I'm at home right now, and I'm just going to go over the stuff that perhaps is complicated. First question, what is Bitcoin? Well, Bitcoin is simply, the simplest way, this is simplified. This is going to be the simplified explanation, is it's a ledger. Right? So Bitcoin is a ledger. It's a book of records. It says who owns what. Why is this important? Because if we're going to be uploading videos to the internet and earning money from them, we need to know who owns them and where those videos are stored. Because what we're also talking about is distributed power, or distributive power, if you like. So what does that mean? Well, if you think of your video editing and you've got a slow hard drive, it can be a real bottleneck on your editing system. But what you can do is you can connect two hard drives, and you can stripe them. So it's a RAID 0 system. And what happens is the computer gets data off both drives at the same time. So that is what we're talking about. Here's two computers, for example. These two boxes here. Two computers are going to be faster if one computer is delivering you half the data, the other computer is delivering you the other half of the data. You can see you've got twice the speed. So what happens if we break your video file up and we distribute it to 5 computers? So if we've broken your video file up and we've distributed it to 5 computers, then what we need to know to play your video is which 5 computers. So that's where the ledger part comes into this. We need to know where your video data is. And then we can retrieve all 5 parts of it all at the same time coming into your computer to play it back to you. So this really means we don't need a multi-million-dollar setup with heaps of computers networked within a single hosting facility. Instead, we can just use people's computers at home and network them together through a programming language. So yeah, as I said in the video, R-Chain is one of the places that this is their project, this is what they are doing. There are some other companies involved in similar projects, similar ideas. The social networking or application side of it is Scenario is specializing in that part of it. We've also got some others. I will link them in the description and you can go and check out these companies. What does it mean to have decentralized control of such things as a video platform or a social media platform? Well, it means that you actually own the content, rather than, for example, YouTube deciding whether they're going to monetize your video or not. you get to make that decision yourself. Whether deciding on what information Facebook sells off to advertisers, you get to decide what information you want to sell off to advertisers. So it gives the decision-making process back to you. And that's the advantages I think I see in a system that is decentralized. There's still the rules there in place. The safety is still there. Okay, so I just want to take a moment to explain why I think decentralized systems are the future as opposed to what we currently have. And the reason being is the way we currently distribute products, goods, services, such as video content or anything else, is there's a lot of middlemen. So for example, we have YouTube, and then we had our advertisers. So rather than YouTube taking that cut out of the middle, in a decentralized system, the advertisers would be directly paying the content creators, and there'd be no middleman. So therefore it's a more effective system, and traditional businesses can't compete with these more effective systems. And yes, you're right, there are some costs. What about the costs of running the server? We need someone to pay for that. And decentralized systems allow for that. So there are payments that are made directly to the people who run the servers as well, and contribute to, in Bitcoin, for example, the blockchain. So those people are called miners, and they are paid in Bitcoin for their service. So this is a more efficient system, less middlemen, and more direct contact. And why do we want to distribute our social media? We're going to have more control. We're going to have more direct content. Traditional business models won't be able to compete with it. What's stopping it? Well, right now, the technology for this, it's there, but it's not quite there. So this is an emerging technology. You are right on the forefront of it. That's perhaps why it's confusing. That's perhaps because we don't know what the end picture looks like. We have a good idea what we want, but the actual end product isn't quite there yet. So none of these companies have developed something which is out there that you can go and use right now. I would say that's a couple of years away. And that is if you want to be one of the first, the early movers as such. But you are welcome to get in now, get involved in these kind of projects now. If you're a developer, or even if you're a content developer, and you have an interest in these kind of projects, sign up to their newsletters, take an interest in what's happening in their community, get in like scenarios, having public beta testing next month. So you can check out their product